It's a really enlightening evening. We hope to learn a lot. And just to tell you a little bit about the ground rules, we have official timekeeper. You'll be able to see the screen there. When it's green, they can keep talking. When it's orange, they need to start wrapping it up. And when it's red, then time is up. And if it goes too far past red, then we're just going to turn off the microphone and open a little trap door. And when I tell you the forum is being sponsored by the Prairie Times and the Ranchland News, and we're going to be doing complete coverage and write-ups of all the questions and discussions here tonight. It's also being filmed by Chris Spanos. We appreciate Chris being willing to do this. He's going to film the whole thing, and we'll be putting it on YouTube and having a link so people who can't be here tonight can watch it. What? So I just want to tell you a little bit about the sessions themselves. We want to make sure people understand that there's like District 3 and District 1, two different districts. The candidates are elected at large in the general election, so this fall, even if you live in District 1, you can vote for the person in District 3 as well as District 1. We have the District 3 candidates on this side. We have the District 1 candidates over there. The two ladies on the end are the Democrats.
Hold on, could you do that again?
In June, there will be a primary election between these two gentlemen in District 3 and those two gentlemen in District 1. Grant Thayer will be running in the primary against Scott Wills, and Chris Richardson will be running in the Republican primary against Jim Whistler. And Barbara Miller is the Democratic candidate, and Marie Soderberg is the Democratic candidate in District 1. So to get started, what we're going to do is give, we've told each candidate that they can introduce themselves, and they're going to have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. So we're going to start with Marie introducing yourself, and then Chris Richardson, and then Jim Whistler. And please hold your applause until they're all three done, and then we'll give some applause. We just don't want to use up a lot of time. Go ahead, Marie.
Okay.
Just pick up the mic.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, I'm really glad that I'm first because all these guys up here look way too serious. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to ask a question. And this is the question. So I'm going to say Republicans. And then I want all the Republicans to say, scream out, "This is my party." You got that? Okay. And we'll do that at the count of 3. So one of the things that I'm setting this up. I know I'm supposed to be introducing myself, right? Okay. The first thing that you need to know about me is I am a person who participates. And my whole world is about others participating. So we're just going to do this for like 10 seconds. If you're a Republican, say, scream out, "This is my party," at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. This is my party! All right. Okay, all those Democrats out there. 1, 2, 3, you're going to yell out, "This is my party." 1, 2, 3. This is my party! Okay, I just had to see what the numbers were. And anyhow, that's the first thing.
What about the independents?
What about the independents? Okay, if you're an independent, go, "This is my party." Ready? 1, 2, 3.
This is my party.
Okay, now we know where everybody's at. Hey, now we're going to do one more. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. Everybody yell out, "This is my party." All right? 1, 2, 3.
This is my party.
Okay, pretty good. Anyhow, my name is Marie Soderberg. I am 71 years old. I am a lesbian. My partner died on September the 12th, so I'm just totally out of the closet. What I wanted you to know that what I'm really for is transparency in this county. Things being out there in the open. I went to Colorado Women's College and I graduated with a BA in psychology, and then I went on to University of Northern Colorado to work with a master's, and then I decided I want to just discover life. So I have been out here since 1973, and my life is about discovering life and being a contribution in the world. And what I have to offer is that red is shut up now, right? Okay, so anyhow, I want to just give you a sense of who I am, and I did that right now. And I want you to have a great time, and when you vote and look at these candidates, I want you to vote from your heart. That's it.
Okay, Jim, and please do hold your applause till the very end. You're on, Jim.
It takes you 3 minutes to get
Hello. You know, when I first decided to run for office, I visited the county manager, and he said, "Hey, Jim, I heard you stepped into the race." I replied, "Well, Ed, I stepped into something, but I don't know what to call it yet." My guess some of you have the same kind of feeling of what to call this race. Hopefully, by the end of this evening, you'll have a better idea. Tonight, we're making Elbert County history. First time, and I don't know how many years, if ever, all the competitors for the commissioner position are here at a debate. My name is Jim Whistler, and I'm running for County Commissioner District 1. I'm grateful to be able to make history with you. And I've been asked many times, who am I? I'm a husband, grandfather, rancher, consultant, educated professional, military spouse, and concerned neighbor. I've been living in the county since 2008. I hold a degree in criminal justice from Temple University. I also have 2 master's degrees, one in healthcare administration, the other one in finance. I support my military family and have a deep commitment to our veterans. My wife is a retired Navy chief. Kathy is also a past commander of the American Legion Post. Because of her, I volunteered for a number of fundraisers and events. I decided to run for county commissioner because I'm concerned where this county is headed, both financially and economically. Now, I know how to look at a budget. I know how to do an audit. I've done audit work in the Elizabeth County Library for the last 3 years. I'm in favor of TABOR. I favor term limits. Now, last November, my opponent was the campaign manager for the sheriff's bid to end term limits. I feel you need them because you need to clean out the barn stalls every now and then. I also believe in the people of Elbert County. I believe they want accountability. They want to know where the money's being spent. I believe in a physically conservative management philosophy. Now, this campaign is not about what we did in the past. It's about what we can do now and what we can do in the future to protect that future. I'm asking for your vote. Please give the county the professionalism it needs. On to the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thanks for everybody coming out. There's no doubt in my mind that we have better government when people are informed and active. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Chris Richardson, and I'm running to be the Republican candidate for Elbert County Commissioner District 1. So who's this guy asking for your vote? I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a retired soldier. I'm a conservative Republican, born of conservative parents who grew up on New England dairy farms. I'm an active citizen, currently serving on the Elizabeth School Board, the County Planning Commission, the board of the Conservative Breakfast Association, and as an officer in our local American Legion post. I have in the past served as a precinct committee person and on the executive committee of the Elbert County Republicans. I studied mechanical engineering and was commissioned as an infantry officer at the University of Pennsylvania back in 1989. I served around the US and the world for over 23 years, culminating my career as a colonel commanding the 4th Infantry Division Sustainment Brigade at Fort Carson. This has given me tremendous experience in managing large public budgets and complex organizations, and also while serving incredibly demanding customers. I've learned to lead and work with and build strong teams. I'm running for commissioner because I think I can bring some very useful experience and perspective to that body. I've got some God-given talents and a whole lot of skills developed at taxpayer expense, and it's only right that I give back to the community that we've chosen to make our home. As a commissioner, I recognize that though I'm responsible for serving the entire county, I'll only have 1/3 of the authority to make decisions and must collaborate with my fellow commissioners. When faced with decisions affecting the county, there's 4 questions that I think should always be asked. Are we providing government that appropriately serves the needs of our citizens? Are we ensuring public safety while protecting private freedoms? Are we supporting responsible economic growth? And are we protecting the resources and culture that make our county unique? I look forward to your questions. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Forums like this are very important. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to have the candidates for the other district introduce themselves. And this would be for District 3. And we will just have you go the way you're seated right here. Barbara, you can go first. Barbara Miller, and then Grant Thayer, and then Scott Wills. So go ahead, Barbara.
I'm happy to be here with you tonight. I've lived in Elbert County since 1993. I practice as a homeopath. I used to have my office in the Elizabeth Family Health Clinic for about 11 years, and then I just took it to my house. But I work with people mainly, but lots of times people call me for animals too, and I can do animals too. So, but I'm making a plunge here into the political fray because the Democrats needed somebody to take up the spot, and I'm willing. I guess I could say I've been a Democrat all my life. My father was a very serious Democrat in a very serious Republican community. And so I was about the only Democrat I knew as a kid, and everybody else was Republican, and we all voted for Eisenhower anyway, so it didn't make much difference that year. My mother came from Colorado. She was originally born in Iowa, but she moved here for her health and taught school in Estes Park, graduated from CU too. And she moved one summer, just for the summer, to Indiana, met my father, and stayed. And it was utterly beyond me how anybody could leave Estes Park and move to Indiana, but he did. She did, and she married my father and stayed there the rest of her life. So, and I first went to Estes Park when I was 5, and I said, this is the place I want to be. Now, I didn't have to be Estes Park. It had to be Colorado. And it took me till I was 39 to get here, but I am so happy to live in Colorado. And I lived in, I married, and my husband died when I was 36, left me with 2 children. I had been a school teacher for 5 years, and then I became a computer programmer for about 7 or 8 years, had kids in and around that, and then I became a homeopath. So if that makes any sense to you, it doesn't make sense to most people. But my mother was really ill when I was a kid, and that's probably why I became a homeopath, because I really always wanted to heal her, and so now I spend my time healing other people. But I'm really excited about the political sphere right now, because I've observed over time that commissioners in Elbert County were not being friendly to people who were citizens of Elbert County. I've been to many board meetings where the citizenry was up in arms, and the commissioners at that time were not being very friendly to the people who were up in arms. So I've always felt that there was more room for people of different parties here. And so I'm hoping that you will consider adding somebody of a different party, not always all the same party, because different points of view can bring about different results. And I hope we have different results in this county. Thank you.
Hold your applause. And Mr. Grant Thayer would be the next person to introduce himself.
I promise mine will be shorter. My name is Grant Thayer. I'm candidate for County Commissioner in District 3. I have a rare combination of higher education, 45 years worth of business executive experience, and I'm also part of the agricultural heritage of the county. I have a ranch out east here. I have an engineering degree and an MBA. I've been married to my wife, Patty, for over 45 years. We have 2 children, 2 grandchildren, and a corgi dog. Pat and I have owned and operated Jumping Cow Ranch, located about 14 miles east of Kiowa, for 24 years. The ranch is well known for breeding and marketing registered cattle. My most recent industry experience was as co-chief executive officer of a firm that purchased a large portfolio of non-performing financial assets. The assets included loans to several oil and gas companies that were in default. Within 3 years, my team, my associates, and I converted these assets into those that met the investment goals of the firm. This turnaround was accomplished through effective management, good governance, thoughtful budgeting, and focused implementation of goals. I believe that these skills will be useful in county government. I believe that Elbert County leaders that have experience, accumulated real-world knowledge, and are capable of solving issues related to good governance while providing transparency and rational fiscal decision-making. I think those skills are important. I realize that, as Chris said, I realize that being a county commissioner is not a one-man band. It requires a commitment to consensus building with fellow commissioners, county employees, and citizens. This requires a mutual understanding of identified issues, a respect for ethics, desirable outcomes, and a plan of implementation. My broad business experience, education, and agricultural heritage, plus my love for Elbert County, will allow me to meet this challenge. I will help provide a positive working environment so that the citizens in Elbert County will have faith, confidence, and trust in our government. Thank you.
Okay, Scott Wills.
My name is Scott Wills, and I'm seeking your vote to serve as your next County Commissioner for District 3. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. My God and our Constitution will guide me every day as your next Commissioner. My life's been devoted to Elbert County, and I've been a leader and business owner here for the last 19 years. From Elbert Douglas County Livestock Association, Kiowa School Board, and the Elbert County Republican Party, I've served as a leader right here in Elbert County. I even served as an elder right here in this church. Just this month, I was elected as commander for American Legion Post 82. It's been a pleasure serving Elbert County. I've been married to Mary Robin, and I think she's not here. Since 1989, we've raised our family right here in Elbert County. Our current BOCC is broken, dysfunctional, and needs help. I've watched for some time, and I just couldn't take it anymore. My priorities are establish trust and professionalism inside the BOCC, because that's gone right now. I will do this in the county buildings, with the citizens and the employees of Elbert County, building coalitions and getting things done. I want to improve the county website and make all county records accessible on that website. Transparency in everything, including the checkbook. Help create a strategic plan with the other commissioners. This will include the new master plan, water, roads, and public safety. This should have been done a long time ago, and it's time to get the people in there who can do it. I have the track record in planning to get this done. I've been a coalition builder right here in Elbert County. I have created transparency right here in Elbert County. And I have created strategic plans, collaborating with other board members right here in Elbert County. I want to serve as your next commissioner and bring Elbert County back on track and prepare for the future. Again, my name's Scott Wills. I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we're going to do is give each candidate 2 minutes to answer the same question. And in this section, or this part of the forum, we're not going to allow anybody to question anybody else's answer. We will be doing that in a little bit later in parts of this where you can comment on a question if you wish. So we're going to start off with District 1. So Chris Richardson will be the first person to answer the question. You're all three going to get the same question. The question is, if elected, what are the first two things you will set about doing upon taking office?
Well, thank you. Having taken on leadership roles on many occasions, I know how important it is to set the right tenor and have a good plan when stepping into a new position. I've done this at every level in the Army, from team leader to brigade commander. I've experienced it as a new school board member and as an executive within the Republican Party and several private organizations. Success when stepping into a new leadership role doesn't start when you're sworn in as a leader, it starts much earlier. I've been meeting for the last several months with department heads and elected officials in the county. I've studied their budgets, I'm familiarizing myself with their mission, and I'm getting to know the people that provide services in this county. On the day after the general election in November, I intend to sit down with Commissioner Dorr and the winner of District 3 and start working together to lay out goals for the next 2 years in office that we're going to be together. These need to be measurable, achievable, and we need to develop them in concert with other key leaders in the county. So for me, day one is a lot more like day 330 of preparation. But to directly answer the question, there's two areas that need to be tackled immediately. First, we need to start rebuilding trust within and confidence in our county government. We will establish clearly that there's a strong group leadership presence at the head of our county. Publicly demonstrate to the people we have a board of county commissioners that's focused on the service to our citizens and will work to improve and address the issues of the county. And two, we will make public our plan for measurable improvement over the next 2 years. In my mind, this plan will focus on how we'll nurture economic activity in order to increase revenue so we can address the county's many needs. Though there have been many improvements in our finances and operations over the recent years, we've clearly stalled out. It's imperative that we start moving forward again and focus on our role as a county government. And that role is to serve the people of this county. And that's where I'm going to focus my energy. Thanks.
Please hold your applause until we're done. Thank you, Chris. Jim Whistler, the same question.
Well, in my experience and training, both in management and consulting, I kind of see this as a large job where those experiences really come to play. But I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm not going to talk about making plans. I'm not going to talk about, concepts. Let's talk about real things. What things would we really do? If I'm so lucky to be granted the right to be commissioner, I would review our financial situation. I feel that's the most concerning thing we have. And I would determine realistically if the actual revenues of the county can meet the demands of the budget, and if not, revise that budget accordingly. Track expenses on a weekly basis to determine if a department is on track with the adopted budget. Now, that's done monthly now, but in the hospital business, which I'm more familiar with, that was done on a daily basis. I also would review all outside contracts that this county government has and see if we're really getting our money's worth from them, or if hiring in-house staff would actually be cheaper than expensive outside contract support, which I believe it is. And lastly, I also will create a status report combining the operations of our revenue and our expenses and our activity to help track it. This is something I learned from the hospital world, where every day they tracked all their activity, and every day all the planning heads, the CEO, CFO would all get together and discuss this. Okay, the second thing I would do is improve the transparency of the operations of Elbert County government. Now, people talk about transparency. What are you actually going to do? 1, review and revamp the look and feel of the county website so information is easier to be found. I'm actually very envious of other counties where they have a lot of information that's very easy to find. I would also make sure there are PDF links to issues that were discussed in meetings. I would seek approval to set up and recruit volunteers for citizens advisory committees on the budget and economic development. I would seek approval to staff an information officer And I would invite those citizens who have questions about the transparency or internal operations of this county to meetings, to listen to their issues and address their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Marie?
I will watch that a lot better this time. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would create an awesomeness manifesto for Elbert County. How many know about awesomeness manifesto? Absolutely nobody. So let me tell you what it is. It came out of Harvard Business School. And what they have seen is that there is a whole new paradigm that wants to happen in business. And what I say is the first thing that I would do is I would sit down with not only the commissioners, but open it to the people of Elbert County to create something that is extraordinary for a vision for the county. There's a saying in the scriptures that says, without a vision, the people perish. So there's been a missing vision in this county that has brought together the people that have the heart, that have the passion, that have the skills, that have the intelligence, that have the ability to make this an extraordinary county that can actually be a role model for America and for small counties in America that can make a difference for everyone. So that's the first thing that I would do, is I would open it up to the county and I would bring it forth to the county commissioners to create something that's never been here before. Because as you look around inside of the political world, something is missing. And the thing that is missing is something that creates a future. When they interviewed people, they found out that there were two things that they saw as the number one and two things that they wanted for their lives. The first thing was to be connected. The second thing was to have a purpose that made a difference bigger than themselves. And what I say is that our county is that. That's the first thing that I would do. Second thing that I would do is I would create a world of trust, not only among county commissioners, but among the people in the county. And I would do open forums.
Thank you. Okay, now go ahead. Okay, now we're going to do the District 3 candidates. And this time we'll start with Scott Wills and then have Mr. Thayer and then Barbara Miller last.
Immediately following the election in November, I will reach out to the other new commissioner from District 1 and Commissioner Dorr, and we'll meet numerous times with the goal of establishing a trusting, professional working relationship, a team, something that we don't have now. We'll build a coalition of commissioners dedicated to making Elbert County great again. This will take place before I am sworn in. Excuse me. In January, the first priority for me is to improve communication with you, the citizen. I will push to upgrade the hardware and software in the IT department. I will seek input from citizens about what they would like to have on the new county website. The checkbook will be on that website. I am currently on the Kiowa School Board, and our checkbook's on the website. My ultimate goal, to put all non-classified information on the new website, easily accessible to all citizens. We need to eliminate the need for constant open records requests. You, the citizens of Elbert County, shouldn't have to file a form to find out what's going on in your county government. Next, I will see to it that we create a strategic plan and implement that plan. It will include seeking input from you, the citizens of Elbert County, getting information from the water study, working together as commissioners, and get the new master plan completed. We must have a plan and follow it. We cannot operate day to day, reacting to what happens and ignoring the plans we already have. Together, we must move the county forward in a purposeful way. Having a professional board of county commissioners who trust each other and work together to provide open, transparent government will be the most important thing we can do. But we must do more. Establishing a strategic plan for 2017, for 3 years, 5 years, beyond. This won't be easy, but it must be done. This is where leadership will be vitally important. Remember, leadership matters.
Mr. Thayer?
It seems like everybody has the same formula. With the consent and coordination of all members of the BOCC, we'll meet with staff, other elected officials, and the public to discuss and formulate a plan to improve the work environment within the county government. It is important that all involved recognize that our combined obligation to deliver excellent, courteous, and professional services to the citizens of Elbert County. To accomplish this, we must first update the county's website so that it is informative, timely, interactive with the citizens of our county. Routine activities such as the budget preparation and process, along with other ongoing activities, will be included in these postings. Citizens want transparency. We must give it to them. The second thing, though, I was back here chuckling. I'm really happy that Scott read my editorial in the Prairie Times, not this month, but last month, because there I outlined the methodology that would be required to set up a strategic action plan and to recruit the individuals to help us with it. The most important component of good, transparent government is effective planning. Elbert County has not changed much in the last 20 years. Prospective county commissioners promise that they will improve road services, be transparent, protect property rights, and bring good government. They get elected and nothing happens. And the reason it doesn't happen is we don't have a plan. We don't have a vision. We don't have a roadmap how to manage a defined path to these desirable outcomes. It is time for a well thought out strategic plan. I call it a strategic action plan. The plan will provide a roadmap to where the citizens want this county to be in 5 years and the process for implementation. The plan needs to be prepared as a joint effort that includes citizens, stakeholders, and staff and be presented to the BOCC for approval and, most importantly, implementation. We need to return the citizens' view of the county to trust, faith, and confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thayer. Mrs. Miller?
I'm afraid I'm going to drop back there.
One of the things I've noticed in studying the budget is how up and down things are year in and year out. And I want to get the budget and the details of the budget really under control in my mind, and I'm working to it right now, but I want to really understand why in this given year was it this way and why in this next year it's different by a significant amount of money, and why in the following year was it even down more. And why are these things happening? Because when the numbers move up and down and around in a way that don't make logical sense to me, I get very suspicious, I guess is the word I'll use. I get very concerned. So I really want to get the budget under control in terms of understanding why decisions were made, what decisions were made that led to things being less consistent, and making a budget for the following year that is much more consistent, and that we know why we made the decisions and where we're going with that plan, so that we get the money handled. Money has been a scary thing, really, in the last 20 years, but particularly in the last 16. And scary in terms of Elbert County and where we have less and less, more and more money's coming in, but we still don't have gravel on the roads, and we used to always have gravel on the roads. That's my measure. When I see gravel back on the roads, then I think we'll have gotten someplace. And that seems like a simple thing, but when you live 8 miles from a town, on dirt roads, it is a basic thing, and it's a critical thing. Another thing that I'm really concerned about is a website that connects us
Your time's up,
to each
Barbara.
other. Oh, okay. Is that it? Well,
Yeah, go
the
ahead and
website.
wrap it up.
Nah, just the website. Just changing the website so so it does have transparency, and so people can really get information sent in as well as out.
Thank you. By the way, how many of you remember when Dick Young was commissioner? Raise your hand. That's the last time they put gravel on my road. That's right. Okay, now in the second section, we're going to ask each candidate 2 questions in each district, and the candidates will have the option of commenting on someone else's question if they wish. And you'll have 2 minutes to answer the question. If you comment on someone else's question or their answer, you must be recognized by the moderators first, and then you will have 1 minute to comment.
Good evening. The first question is to Scott Wells. While the majority of residents in Elbert County identify as Republicans, as a county commissioner, you will represent all residents of Elbert County. How will you make sure that ideas and concerns for Democrats and independents are also heard?
I would listen. I don't think that's a tough question. We don't walk around with an R on our forehead, so when citizens call, I don't know what party they're from. When they ask you a question, you answer them logically. They're citizens of Elbert County. I get to represent all of you.
Maybe she's asking that because you were the chairman of the Republican Party for years, and so that would be an adjustment.
My job as chairman of the Republican Party was to represent Republicans. My job as a county commissioner is to represent Elbert County. Just doing my job.
For Grant.
Oh. That's for section 3. Grant. How do you personally feel about Elbert County opening up to gas and oil as a source of revenue and why?
You gave Scott a softball question, now you've given me one. The reality of it, my engineering degree is in petroleum engineering. I've worked in Canada, North Africa, all over the United States. The fact is, I was on a frac truck back in 1981. So the technology was different, but the concept was the same. How do I feel about oil and gas? The oil and gas is very highly regulated in this state. As long as the oil companies follow all the state rules and then do 3 things. One is make an agreement with the road and bridge so that we can protect some of those bridges out where I live. Secondly, have an agreement with the respective firehouse so that the fire department always knows what chemicals are on site, and also, more importantly, where the shutoff valves are, how to shut things down. And then the third thing is a check. And the check should be fairly significant. So the big problem with oil and gas is not the technology or anything like that. It's about the ancillary issues. Policing, road maintenance of roads and these type of things. The road and bridge agreement, in my mind, would be something that was just north of you break it, you fix it, but you also help us improve the infrastructure that's in the county. Again, I was a CEO of 2 different oil companies, and it's very clear that the oil companies do not want problems. They will come and negotiate with the authorities in the county and come up with a good plan to make sure that the county is protected. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara?
Wait.
Okay.
1 minute. I got 1 minute. Okay. So one of the things that I notice in this county is that there's a lot of talk about oil and gas, and then there's a lot of talk about water. And I really feel that we need to talk about, and we need to create an opening for other businesses to move into the county that are outside of where we've normally been looking. And that if we did that, we could actually create revenue that would make a difference and continue to make a difference and create new jobs in the county. The oil and gas part of it doesn't create a lot of jobs for people here. So I would be up for really having us look other places instead of oil and gas.
Thank you. And you started in on this a moment ago, but the subject of county roads seems to be high on the list as a major concern for those living in Elbert County. Describe your personal experience with roads in District 3 and your ideas as how a commissioner could help solve some of the problem areas.
Well, my experience is that I'm a big driver, okay? I mean, even when I lived all over the United States. Well, I say all over the East Coast maybe, and up and down in lots of places. I've moved 31 times as an adult, so it gives you a clue. But when I moved to Elbert County, I continued to drive everywhere. And I drive there at odd times. I used to come in sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning from a meeting in Denver, or and so I was always putting myself at risk. I mean, I would drive through blinding snowstorms on, holidays or near holidays. And I was always at a risky situation. So I am familiar about roads that are very, very deep in snow, very challenged, muddy. I used to have what my neighbors called the driveway from hell, because it didn't have any gravel on it, and you had to ford the stream to get across it. There were all sorts of characteristics to my driveway that were completely unappealing, and I put more gravel in it, and it just sucked right down in the clay. So I am familiar with how much the gravel will suck up the clay. The clay will suck up the gravel. But what I do know is that we need to loosen up some money for gravel. One of the things we can do in Elbert County is find another gravel source inside the county. That's one thing that as county commissioners we can choose to do. Another one.
Your time is up.
Okay, then, we can buy it out of the county. Okay.
Sorry, that's okay. That's okay. I'm allowed to go. Okay. Grant, back up. We're getting District 3. There are two questions to begin with here. Define economic development and what you would like to see for Elbert County in this area under your tenure as commissioner.
That's probably one of the most important questions you'll ask tonight, because part of the strategic action plan will include the identification and recruitment of economic development opportunities. It's hard to say exactly what it would be until we get the strategic plan sorted out. But my thinking is that it will be an attempt to get as much clean industry here as we can. One of the things years ago, I was at the Agate School there talking about economic development. And some lady stood up and said, why are you want economic development? There's no unemployment here. And I made the grand gesture, swept my hand around it, and I said, look around you. Is there anybody here that's less than 50 years old? There wasn't. The point being is the reason there's low unemployment in Elbert County is because all of our young people leave. We need to have opportunity for them here. We need to have optimism. We have to have an optimistic attitude in the county that the young people can stay and come back. We need to have opportunities for them to go away and get an education and come back. You can't do that with a new Mexican restaurant. You need to have something that is important, that employs people. You know, there's something called the velocity of money. Every dollar that is made or minted here in the county through work and an opportunity usually circulates through the county 7 times, according to one of the courses I took for MBA. Today, though, if it's only 3 or 4 times, it's still the multiple effect is enormous. Economic development and recruitment is one of the things that is of paramount importance to the citizens, and it's of paramount importance to the strategic plan. Thank you.
Scott? Regarding the November 18th BOCC meeting where dozens of county employees and elected officials demanded the resignation of Commissioners Ross and Dorr, you said it took a lot of courage for them to do so. Please elaborate on how it took courage.
When you're an employee standing up in front of the public and asking for your boss's resignation, to me that takes courage. Ultimately, they could have been fired at the end of the day. So that to me is courage and fearful. I don't know that I would do that. It was something I had never seen before in my life. And I was in awe, petrified. I'd never seen anything like it. So that's what I meant when I said courage, because they could have been jobless the next day.
Pause, please. Jim, you want to comment?
Yes. 1 minute?
1 minute.
Okay, I was not there November 18th. If you remember, a day before November 18th, we got a huge snowstorm, and I was still digging myself out of my driveway that Wednesday morning. But I did get my hands on the audio tape of November 18th, and criminal justice major, you do something called depositions. You start writing down what people say. The thing I noticed most of all, that the elected officials asked for resignations of Ms. Dorr and Larry. The employees did not. The employees were much softer. They said there were issues and concerns, but they didn't ask for resignations, probably because they were afraid. That's all I have to say. And I hope that in that case if a situation arises with me, that I would never allow that to happen. That I would be able to reach out to the employees and to staff and to say, what are your concerns, what are your problems? If we have issues, let's sit down, let's talk about them.
Okay, thank you. Great.
Definitions are important. I don't see it as courage at all. I see it as a lack of professionalism. Elected employees demanding the resignation of other elected employees. What about the citizens out here? They're the ones that elected them. There has to be a sense of decorum, courtesy, and just professionalism. One of the things that comes to mind is that when you have an environment like that, it poisons the well. And you know, one of the things the Romans learned a long time ago, if you poison the well, you can't come back and drink the water. So what's happened is that the well is poisoned. We need to regain trust, faith, and confidence in our county government. And we do that in a professional atmosphere.
One more question. Barbara, one more question. There's been a lot of talk about the benefit of citizen committees in assisting the county government in making better decisions. What would you feel is the most important citizen committee to have in Elbert County under your tenure as commissioner, and why?
I would start with making a citizen committee to go over with a fine-tooth comb on the budget, because that's my issue. So that would be the one I would want to start. Where can we cut? Where can we expand? Do we need all the employees we currently have? Do we need all the elected officials? Do we need to change some of those things? And really take a look at the whole everything on the budget. And because people in Elbert County really know a lot that's going on that nobody ever necessarily tells the county commissioners they know.
Thank you. We'll move on to District 1. Did you want to make a comment on that?
So I'm a person who doesn't even have a piggy bank, and everybody's talking about the budget. What I see is that it's not being talked about is a citizens committee for actually creating a future for this county and having them look at and having people present and bring in their dreams and their visions and what makes a difference. So I got into being running for this office because I heard somebody's dream. And she said I couldn't get it through the commissioners and I couldn't get it through the government. And I said, okay, the next day what showed up was actually asking for somebody to run for county commissioner for the Democrats. And before I thought about it, I said I'm on. And it was because of somebody's dream that'll really make a difference for this county that I came on. So I would bring together a committee that truly started looking at people's visions and what they had to offer.
Jim?
Well, to expand on that comment, I got on the Republican ballot for the primary by knocking on hundreds of doors. And in doing so, I ended up talking to hundreds of people in this county, and they would sit me down and they would tell me their issues, but they also would tell me their talents. And I think there's an amazing untapped reservoir of talent and ability in this county of people who would volunteer their time on the Citizens Committee, not only for looking at the budget, which is something I completely agree with, but also with economic development. I came across this one man who was in charge of 40 banks, and I said, hey, would you consider being on a Citizens Committee? And he said yes. And these are the kind of people we need to reach out to help build a better economic development in this county. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to, yeah, if you'd like to applaud, you can now. That was District 3, and we're going to move on to the District 1 candidates. I'm sorry, that was District 3. We're moving on to District 1. And we'll start with Marie. What do you feel is our biggest issue and our largest threat pertaining to water in Elbert County?
Oh man, the water in Elbert County. How many of you are concerned about the water in Elbert County? Just raise your hand. All right. So this is it. The water is the biggest issue that we could really look at, and that's the future, and that's the present right now. And the biggest thing is if we bring in business to begin impacting the water in Elbert County, we're in big doo-doo. So I have in my pocket, I have a bill here. I actually brought it, and this is a bill from what is it, High Point? Not High Point. What's that point up there? What is it? Wild Point. Okay, it's also a very high point in the water bill. So this bill right here is $1,336.34. No, it's actually $1,413.34. That's a 2-month water bill. and that's from a private company. So one of the biggest issues is to have the county commissioners and having citizens rise up against what could be happening with the water here and put a stop to it before it ever gets started. I can say more.
No?
I'm going to shut up.
Okay, nobody wants to comment, so we'll move on to, okay, Jim, you want to comment?
Water is one of the most basic concerns we have in this county. And one of the concerns is the, to borrow the phrase of Grant Thayer, the monopolization of that water via some type of pipeline. And that's a very big concern to me, because ultimately, if you have a bill, as she pointed out, of several $100s or over $1,000, you really can't sustain your home if that's going to get you every 2 months. So this is something that we all have to look at and try to understand as new developments come into play or are proposed, what kind of impact those developments would have on our water resources, and if anyone decides to build infrastructure, what type of impact the infrastructure will do to us, because quite frankly, I think water is almost as necessary as freedom. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next question is to Jim Whistler. And the question is, do you favor having county offices open 5 days a week? And if so, please explain how this can be accomplished, given the current revenues available to the county.
Yes, well, back in, I believe it was either 08 or 09, or 010, I forget exactly when, the county went on a 4-day schedule, only open Monday to Thursday, and I believe the employees would work only 9 hours in a given day. So they had to take a 10% cut on pay. Now, strangely enough, the elected officials decided not to share that kind of burden for some reason, and I kind of wish they did. You're right. I don't know quite at this moment, looking at the budget, how we can achieve 5 days open. I may have to try to do things like try to shift some of that employees so they can work maybe on a Saturday. The wish I want is to have it more accessible to everyone. And it's hard for someone who's working, for two people working, how can they get to the offices to get their car registration completed? And there's a will, there's a way. And I gotta find that way, because I have that will. I'm sorry, I don't have any better answer than that at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to comment on that, Marie?
Yeah. So I just had this idea. I get ideas. And what if one day out of the week that they stayed open until 7 o'clock so that people could get there and it would not have to be open on 5th day. So we could actually have one day in which the county office, in particular for the vehicle registration, would be open extra hours on that one day so they could get there.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is to Chris Richardson. Had you been commissioner at the time of the November 18th BOCC meeting when county employees and elected officials demanded the resignation of your fellow duly elected commissioners, what specific actions might you have taken?
Okay, well, I was present at that meeting, and it was appalling. Honestly, to me, it was an expression of incredible frustration. People in that room had reached the breaking point. People that work for this county because they want to serve the people of Elbert County. The dysfunction on the Board of County Commissioners was preventing them from doing what they had signed up to do. That's why they were standing up and demanding resignations, why they were expressing their displeasure in what was going on. I'm not saying that was right, I'm not saying that was wrong, but I'm saying the most important thing that struck me was just how fractured our government had gotten. We don't need to get to that point. Things get to that point when people don't listen to one another, when they don't respect one another, when they don't trust one another. That's the situation we face right now, and that needs to change, and that will change. That's what I got, Jim.
Thank you. Comment, Jim?
When I had to go look and, hear the comments on that tape from November 18th, remember, I wasn't there. The thing that bothered me the most about it, I kept on hearing the same words being used. Now, of course, keep in mind, only the elected officials demanded resignations. The staff didn't. But they kept on using the same words of, there were concerns of how the government was running or how the commissioners were working together. And I don't think it was frustration. I think it was an organized event, personally. And I found that very disturbing. And I would not put up with that. I do not know for a fact how it was organized. I've heard rumors, and I will not discuss them, but I heard rumors that it was organized 2 days prior. Monday before that meeting, Mr. Rowland, Commissioner Rowland, stepped down, and Larry became the head, and then 2 days later we have this huge event. This is not by happenstance, this is by orchestration.
You had a comment, Marie next, and then Grant.
Okay, so I have actually stood between protesters and the SWAT teams. And the thing that's missing is listening, like really listening to people and hearing what the concern is. So I would have actually stepped in the middle. I would have been the responsible one for taking charge of the room and saying, okay, we're gonna have a timeout immediately. And I would have actually stepped in there and said, this is not working, so you all go over there and you all go. Now, I didn't listen to any of the transcripts, but sounds like it was not a good deal. And what I would do is start to listen to people and give everybody a chance to say something without anybody else saying it. Kind of like the talking stick that the Indians used to have. I would pick up a pencil and say, okay, this is the new talking stick. All right, you start, you get to hold the talking stick and say whatever you want. Everybody else be silent. And we would go around until everything was said.
Mr. Thayer?
I've been thinking about running for county commissioner for a couple of years, and my wife said no, absolutely no. Under no circumstances will you do that. Until the November 18th meeting. And when that write-up in the paper, and Jim Keane went and got me an audio of it, the lack of professionalism, the lack of disrespect for fellow elected officials is incredible. I spent 14 years on the Planning Commission, 12 of it as chairman. The chairman has to take control of a meeting like that. And I've had a meeting or two like that when I was on the Planning Commission. And what I did when the people started to try and filibuster the meeting, I called a recess. And then I said, go pick a leader. I'll listen to one of you, perhaps two of you. But we're not going to have this, as Mr. Whistler just pointed out, this repetition of, thou art a bad guy. You know, there's got to be professional respect, reasonableness, and a sense of understanding and decorum. That was not there. That cannot be tolerated by the citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Wills?
I'd been thinking about running for county commissioner before the 18th meeting and actually announced my candidacy on the 11th, a week before, because I could sense the dysfunction, I could see the dysfunction, I could hear the dysfunction at those meetings. I chose to run for county commissioner not because of what happened on the 18th, but because I knew it was inevitable. I didn't know what was going to happen, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew there was a huge problem and something was going to happen. It just happened to blow on the 18th.
Okay, Now we're going to ask the second set of questions to the group here in District 3. And Marie, you're the first up. Oh.
I'm okay being District 3. Okay.
Here's your question. There has been some talk about trying to get home rule for Elbert County. What is it, and how would you be would you be in favor of it?
Home rule in Elbert County? Okay.
Have you even heard of it, Marie?
Yes, I have heard of it. I have heard of it. So home rule is where the county is actually able to set its own rules for what's going on in the county. So it would allow for right now. There's the Republican Party, there's the Democratic Party, and as you know, the Republicans outnumber the Democrats. I'm okay with that because I've always been an underdog. But this would allow for actually, when you have your presidential election and more of the national parties that are out there, when people vote, a lot of times they just vote a straight line, and they don't really have an understanding of the people that are running for the elected offices at the county level. So the county level makes a really big difference for people to know who the people are and what they stand for and what they can bring to the county. Outside of being hooked into the national agenda, like the Republican agenda, gun control, abortion, all those things over there, and then the social issues for the Democrats, so that the county people would have to know who those people are that are running for the elected offices, to understand and vote on what people's knowledge is and also on their competencies.
Okay. Chris, you wanted to comment on that?
There's a lot more to home rule than just how we go about voting for people. It does allow you to essentially recharter your county, decide how you will operate. It touches on things like, do you have 3 county commissioners or 5? Do you, it's just much broader. I think there are some very good things to home rule counties, but before you pursue that, you've really got to understand what you're getting into. We're at a point in the county where we need to sit down very seriously, look at what our future should be, what are we supposed to be doing as a county statutorily, what the people have voted for, what the people's expectations are, and are we, under the current structure, current statute for counties, able to do what we're expected to do? If we're not, then what do we need to change to do that? If changing to home rule or recreating a charter for the county in a home rule option would allow us to do things that we need to be doing, that's something we should pursue, but it's not just a either-or answer. It's a very complex subject, and it would take a lot of citizen input to get there. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Jim Whistler, explain how you would structure the county administration with respect to budget and financial personnel or positions. What would staffing look like? It's kind of like a...
Okay, well, what you could do, and what I would like to work with, if I'm selected to be a commissioner, my other commissioners on, you look at cost centers and revenue centers. All right, you look at a function like motor vehicles, which generates a lot of revenue, a revenue center, and you see, if you can come up with a methodology to determine where, well, gee, if I had one more staff member, or how much money does that staff member working 8-hour shift generate for that county because of people coming in? If I have one more staff member, how much more revenue would I be able to achieve? And would that revenue be greater than the cost of that employee? Then how much greater than that cost of the employee? Which you have to look at. And then you can say, well, the argument was, gee, can I have the DMV open up more hours, more days to be able to not only be more accessible, but also to achieve that revenue. Same thing with building permits. Okay, we're struggling right now. We had, now I don't know exactly the current situation, we had a contract, a person working building permits, and we hired someone recently, and he actually got a better position. He left a few days later, so I don't know what our situation with that is. But again, building permits is a revenue center. If I had more people working that revenue, or that ability to provide that service and gain that revenue for the county, then you look at how much more money would I get if I had one additional person. So you have to take that into account. Now, you have a cost center, like I'm going to have to say, offhand, Road and Bridge. Road and Bridge spends money. I don't really understand if Road and Bridge gets paid the same way as, well, I'm running out of time here. Anyway, you make those analyses based on what it can do for the county, how it can improve those resources. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Thayer?
I'm reminded of my good friend Chris Ware here. She told me not to get in the weeds. The question is an impossible question to answer the way it was asked. What needs to be handled first is a strategic action plan. Then you build the roadway to get there, and then you rearrange the staffing. I notice I didn't say fire anybody. Rearrange the staffing to generate the outcomes that you want to have. And that generation of the outcomes includes economic development. And I agree with the young lady over here that it's more than just oil and gas. It's about all of the possibilities and the recruitment, the identification of it. The only way we're going to grow this county, provide better services, is to get more income and to very wisely allocate the resources that we have. So the budget process has to be transparent and all that other good stuff, but the real issue is, what is the plan?
Thank you. Okay, the last question here is for Mr. Richardson. You have stressed your military background is contributing to your qualifications to be in a county leadership position. Tell us what you learned in the military that gives you an advantage in the skills necessary to be commissioner.
Okay, well, thanks, Jerry. First of all, I don't expect Douglas County to attack, so I think we're safe there. Throughout my career, every 2 to 3 years, the Army moved me. I moved into new organizations, had to learn new skill sets, had to learn to work with new people. I rarely, if ever, got to choose who I worked for. I never got to choose who I worked for. Sometimes I got to choose who worked for me. Rarely did I choose the people that I worked with. The big thing that I carried forward in all of that was you had to set goals. You had to have a common mission, a common vision that everybody was working for. You might not always agree all the time, but you know where you're trying to get to. I kind of talk about, like, you look at the Board of County Commissioners when they sit at that table. There's one over here, there's one in the middle, there's one over there. If they're dealing with issues right in front, people on the left and right have to make really hard turns to get together. If you're looking at things that are way out there, everybody can move a little left, a little right, and you get where you're going. But that's philosophical organizational stuff. I've dealt with public budgets. I've been responsible to the taxpayer my entire life. I've worked very hard to return value for those taxpayer dollars that were given. Most recently on the school board, we've done some refinancing, saving about $300,000 for folks. While I was in the military, we looked at some contract work that was being done. I had a training battalion at Fort Jackson. We actually put some soldiers to work, saving about $165,000 each in 5 or 6 barracks, doing refurbishing and making them their own. We need to make this county our own. We need to all work together. We need to pull together. The military thing isn't about command. It's about leadership. It's about working with people towards common goals. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting ready to eat our famous Charlie's New York hot dogs and everything to go with them. And I want to invite any of you who would like to submit a question for the second part, where we will be taking questions from the audience. On the table back there is some index cards. Just write your question on an index card and bring it up here and put it on this table. And we will go through those cards and see what questions we can come up with for the second half. So go ahead and turn the lights up now and get in line and get something to eat.
The line starts here.
Hey, Paula, can you move that chair over here?
You only get green beans.
Yeah, that's all I'm having.
Sorry, Chris, let me.
Nice job, Grant. Good job. Can you move a chair?
I will.
I don't want anybody to trip on this.
I don't blame you.
There we go.
Very good. So, what gave you the credibility to run the minute?
Well, I convinced everyone that we could train a monkey. I was the one who was most likely monkey. So I'm the one. I get to run it. I just cut it out of the phone. So, I figured it's kind of maybe
The different colors?
yeah, let everyone see the colors. And I have to admit, though, the flashing idea was my idea.